Step-by-step tutorial on how to make this beautiful watercolor buttercream cake. I'm starting with 4 layers of 8-inch cake that I have wrapped in plastic and refrigerated overnight. I'm going to cut off the darker portions of the cake using a large serrated knife. If you are new to caking, you may want to use a cake leveling tool such as this one. I find that the results are pretty much the same, and I actually like using the large knife instead as it gives me a little more flexibility. I also don't like to use tools when not necessary. Now we're going to take those cakes that we have torted and start stacking them on our cake board. You may want to use a piping bag to achieve an even layer of frosting if you're newer to making cakes. Once again, I like to skip using too many tools. I just prefer to use a cake spatula when adding my layers of frosting to the cake. So you're going to continue. You can use 2 layers of cake, 3 or 4. For this cake, I'm using 4. I want it to be kind of tall. It's going to serve about 25 people. I usually tell my customers you can serve between 25 to 30 if it's small children who will be eating the cake and you're cutting very small slices. Now I'm going to begin adding the crumb coat to the cake. That is the initial first very thin layer of frosting. If you think about painting a house, it would be like putting a primer layer on before you start painting your house. The crumb coat essentially traps all the crumbs inside the frosting so that when you put on the final layer of frosting, you don't worry about any of those crumbs coming through. It's very important to make this first layer as smooth and perfect as possible. Each step when you're making a cake should be as perfect as you can make it. A strong foundation leads to a strong house. The same goes for a cake. You want to make sure that the sides are very flat and level. Here I'm showing you how the scraper should be lined up, completely flat against the cake board. I'm going to scrape off a little bit of frosting, clean it off into my bowl, and continue around the cake. Slow and steady, scraping a little frosting, cleaning it into the bowl, scraping, cleaning. When we're ready to do the top, I like to get down eye level so I can have a really good view of the cake. I'm going to scrape from the side to the middle of the cake, not pulling across completely, and then cleaning off into the bowl. Continuing around the side of the cake and then across the top as needed until you have a very smooth initial crumb coat on your cake. Okay, I've chilled the cake for 1 hour. I'm going to start applying the final layer of frosting to achieve the watercolor effect. You can either use a piping bag or you can again use a spatula. I prefer the spatula. I just find it a little faster and easier and also less mess to clean up. I'm working with a purple and a blue color today. You can use any colors that you want. Just think about the color wheel and how those colors are going to mix together. Also make sure to fill in all the holes anywhere you can see the crumb coat, paying attention to the top of the cake, and also the bottom edge is where I find I often miss the most. Now we're going to take the scraper to start smoothing out this top layer of buttercream, going slow and steady, cleaning off the scraper as we go to make sure there's no excess frosting on it. And as we work our way around the cake, you will start to see that watercolor effect coming through as the colors kind of swirl together and mix around. Here you can see more of the pink is coming through, the blue. Next, we're going to smooth the top of the cake, once again, getting down nice and low so you have a good view and pulling from the side halfway across to the middle of the cake, turning the cake and repeating that process until you've gone all the way around the cake and it's nice and smooth. I'm going to do one last coat around the side, showing you how much frosting I'm pulling off from a different angle here. And then once again, I'm going to get down nice and low and smooth across the top of the cake once more. You just want to keep doing this back and forth until the cake looks the way you would like it to look. I've gotten pretty fast at this, but it might take you a little bit longer, so slow and steady, cleaning off the cake board, and now we are almost done. Here's one last really cool hack. I've heated up my scraper under hot water and now I'm going to gently smooth it across the cake one last time. This gets rid of any little bubbles or bumps you may have and just creates a very polished, smooth effect on the final layer of the watercolor. And now we have our beautiful watercolor buttercream cake. If you like this, please follow Confections by Crystal for more tutorials and tips.